Hello, and welcome to the Cycle Endometriosis podcast, where we will delve deep into experiences, challenges, and triumphs of those navigating a life with endometriosis. Join us as we share the stories of resilience, offer insights from experts, and foster a community of support for those affected by this often misunderstood condition. Whether you're newly diagnosed, a seasoned warrior, or seeking understanding, I hope this podcast is here to help empower you and uplift you on your journey. Tune in as we break the silence, shatter stigmas, and amplify the voices of the endometriosis community. Medical disclaimer: this podcast is not intended for the purpose of providing medical advice. All information, content, and material of this podcast is for informational purposes only and is not intended to serve as a substitute for the consultation, diagnosis, and/or medical treatment of a qualified physician or healthcare provider. Thank you so much for being here, and now on to the show. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this month's episode of the Cycle Podcast. So grateful that you're here with us today. And on today's show, I have Ren joining us. Hello, Ren. Welcome to the show. How are you today?
Good. How are you? So happy to be here.
So grateful to have you on the show. I am doing well. We were both chit-chatting about the weather a little bit, bonding about our Midwest weather before the show started.
And how unpredictable it is.
We never know what we're going to get. We never know. Well, Ren, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So my name is Ren. I'm 30 years old. I work in medical cannabis. I'm in the southwest suburbs of Chicago. I've been living here all my life, and I love Chicago. It's my hometown. It's the main city, I know, and it's one of my passions of like going out there and seeing everything that it has to offer. I have fur babies, I have reptiles at home that I take care of and I love. And then on my off times, I do a lot of art, I do a lot of painting, a lot of meditation stuff. So yeah, that's pretty much about me.
Thank you so much for sharing. I do love Chicago. So for people who are listening, you've never been to Chicago, or people outside of the US, it's such a great city. You know, it's not super, super big, which is actually really nice. I think it has a lot of suburbs, but it's just it's a great place. Right on the water.
It has a lot to offer for anybody.
Yeah, good food, shopping, restaurants, art. I really do love Chicago. So I'm about 4 to 5 hours away from Chicago, which is why I love it so much too. It's just a great place to like go have a nice weekend. So that's great. Yeah, it really is beautiful. Okay, well, let's chat a little about endo and endo story. So, when did you first notice maybe some symptoms or something that alarmed you that you weren't feeling right or something was going on in your body?
So, my first period was not the easiest one. And, when you step into womanhood, it's not going to be easy to begin with. You're feeling all these new sensations and, you have so many questions to begin with. I was 11 years old when I had my first period, and I was actually on an airplane to a Hawaiian trip with my grandparents. It was a rude awakening. It was a really rude awakening, and I was pretty much on the beach holding on to like another towel most of the time. My cramps were really intense, and all I wanted to do was lay down. And then like 2 years later after that, I go on a different trip, and that's when the bleeding from my periods were starting to get excessive. And I was 13 around this time. My sister graduated high school, and we thought, since she excelled in speaking Spanish, we took her to Mexico. and I went through, it was pretty much, it felt like a horror scene, waking up and bleeding through 3 things of sheets. It was just access, and these poor women who had to clean and like grab it. It looked like a horror scene, but they see me coming out of the bathroom with these maxi pads and crying. They're like, "Oh, okay." It
Oh,
I felt like the pretty much the cramping and pretty much the access bleeding that I was having didn't seem normal, but when I was seeing doctors and talking to my mom about it, everyone says, "Oh, everyone has this. Everyone deals with this. It's gonna happen, and we have our bad days." And I'm like, these are starting to feel like bad months.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
it was starting, yeah, harder.
I understand.
Uh,
I completely understand that too. Yeah. And just this is the way that it is. Yeah. I was told that too. I mean, yeah.
yeah. And you're already feeling awkward in that age when you're like
For,
a tween, adolescent.
yes.
Um, you're not comfortable with your own body, and having this made me feel even more uncomfortable around people.
For sure.
Um,
Yes. So hard. It's such a hard age. Those ages are so challenging. Yeah. And then to have something like this on top of it. Yeah, for sure. Where you're just like, something doesn't feel right. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, it becomes concerning, but when everyone else is telling you everything's okay, you're like
Yeah.
questioning that as well.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I going forward when I was like also going through high school, I was starting to experience like more of the GI issues then. I was told it was acid reflux at the time, and I took it as that, and that's why I was tired all the time. And I'm like, okay, these adults are telling me what's happening. Better listen and do what they're saying to me.
Yeah.
Um,
Did you miss
but it,
school or like activities? Were you starting to like miss things? Yeah.
yeah, and there were times where I was kind of targeted as like a drama queen.
Yeah.
Um, having really bad crying episodes when it was hurting really bad, and people not understanding
Yeah.
what was going on.
Yeah. 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 And especially like high school, such a hard, it's just, that's also like the tweens really hard too, but like high school too, because I just feel like as society, like we just don't believe like teenagers when they say things too. And I remember being like laying on the floor at school because I was in so much pain, and they asked me if I was on drugs. Like that, it's like part of my story
Yeah,
I'll never forget. And I was like, are you like, I'm white as a ghost, can barely stand up, rocking back and forth in pain. And they were just couldn't believe that like my period could cause that amount of pain.
yeah, and I started to realize I was starting to feel more faint day by day, and
Hmm.
that was probably from all the excess bleeding I was going through. I would have to go through like 4 maxi pads to make a diaper. It's like
Yeah.
it was the penny liners were laughable at that point.
Yeah.
Um, and I was, yeah, a lot of people thought I was crazy. I would sometimes have to like put my legs up over the desk to feel comfortable.
Hmm.
And I was starting to get faint, so I had fainting episodes too. And along with that, being in a back brace for scoliosis, that just adds the cherry on top.
Added another layer to everything.
Oh
Yeah.
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 Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh my. And so that's high school, you're really starting to go through it and have the GI stuff.
Yeah, so every day was an uncomfortable day. My friends weren't quite understanding of what the situation was, so they were
Mhm.
often like making jokes of like, "Oh, every day's a bad day," and I'm like,
Oh,
"Yeah, we don't need to
no, I'm
point
so
it out."
sorry. Oh,
No,
that's
it's right. We've
so
had adult conversations about that, so we're all good.
yeah. Everything's all good now. I know. I know. It's just the empathy that people just it's the lack of awareness with the disease in general. So people just don't have the same level of empathy because they never heard the word or don't know what it is. And obviously during that time, you didn't even know what you were going through. So,
No, no, you don't have a name for it. You're just
right.
understanding the symptoms and you're realizing more and more it's just not right.
Yeah. So
Um,
what were some of your like GI symptoms? I always love to tell people about symptoms. So if they're listening, they can identify maybe with some of the symptoms that you were having.
right. So I was having issues like mainly in the morning. I could not eat. I'm supposed to take medication where I had something in my stomach, and
Mm-hmm.
when it came to like just eating a banana, I couldn't keep it down. It just felt horrible. So it definitely was acid reflux that was bubbling up, but I was what I didn't know was also IBS. I felt like I really had to go to the bathroom often. I had
Mm-hmm.
to like I was starting to have like cramps in other areas.
Mm-hmm.
So it was I felt like ex- enhancing the pain that I was already experiencing, but I thought it was all just cramps around that time.
Sure, sure. Okay. Okay. So after, you get this like take this for acid reflux, what happens after that?
So I was actually trying to do a vegan diet for 8 months. I was trying to do a challenge for myself to see if I could do a little bit of a reset.
Mm-hmm.
And something was mentioned in like research I was trying to do at a young age of like maybe it was a hormone imbalance. So I tried to do something with like my diet, and it actually really helped my stomach quite a bit. I don't have too much of that nausea that I would experience in the morning. So now in like present day, I try to keep it at like vegetarian meals maybe 3 times a week, and like do like animal byproduct whatever like occasionally every so often during the week, and just try to keep it at a minimum.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been really beneficial to eliminate some symptoms.
That's really helpful tip. Thank you for sharing that. Okay.
Yeah. Um, and then kind of going forward, I'll skip to when it was like 2017. I was 22 around this time. It was my last year of college, and I was just going to community college, trying to finish it off as best as I could. Um, I had an episode where my partner at the time had to rush me to the hospital. I collapsed at the college, and it was pain I never experienced. It was a pop, and I fell down and had tunnel vision. And I didn't understand what was happening around that time. We rushed myself to the hospital, and I found out um, basically I had my first ruptured cyst.
Oh my goodness. Ugh, so painful and just scary. It's so scary.
Yeah, you think your appendix is rupturing,
Yes. Yes. Oh my
and
goodness.
you get very scared around that time, and he
Mhm.
didn't know what to do at that time either.
No. Well, no, especially if like cuz nobody knows what's going on. Like you said, you had tunnel vision, so you probably couldn't even like communicate what was going on.
Oh, not at all. So I was very thankful for him to take the action that he did, and we
Yeah.
weren't too far away from the hospital. Um, Now that was around March of 2017.
Okay.
In May 1st, my second cyst ruptured,
Oh no.
and it was from my right to my left ovary, and I was starting to experience like the pain was not dulling down. I didn't realize like from the testing that they didn't see other cysts, so they didn't like mention that to me that there was other implements of them.
Mhm.
They just said, "Oh, it's just this one and you're done."
Right.
And
So when you went to the ER the first time, they did at least confirm what they thought was like a cyst rupture, but said, okay, here you go. You're fine now. You're going your merry way.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And
Oh
then
no.
did the same thing a couple months later.
Later. Oh.
And it just in that short of span of time to have another one happen was really strange.
And
Um,
yeah. During this time, like leading up to that too, were you seeing like a family doctor or an OBGYN or anything like that and just expressing like, hey, I'm having like a lot of pain and heavy bleeding, and were you talking with any doctors about that like leading up to this instance?
yeah, I remember when I was younger, I was talking to a family doctor and they were like, "Ooh, it looks like it's gonna be your first visit to an OBGYN." And I went with my mom to go see hers around that
Mm-hmm.
time. Um, and I was seeing her. She eventually retired, so I found out like a different lady in the same practice, and reporting back to her about the situation. And
Yeah.
when it came to things like the pain that I was experiencing she was still telling me this was all normal.
Normal. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
All right. So the second, oh my gosh, terrible. 2 months apart, essentially 3 months apart. The second
oh,
cyst ruptures. At that point, were you kind of like, oh, I think I know what this pain is when that happened? Or did you just go back to the ER and be like, what is going on?
yeah, I was trying to find what my symptoms meant, and we concluded that it was PCOS. And she's like, these things are going to happen. Let's try to switch out your birth control, see if that kind of helps out um the cyst. And the birth control at the time was okay, but the pain was still persistent.
Yeah. So you
And
had
then
been on
around,
birth control. Had you had been on birth control for a while? Did they
yeah,
recommend
yeah,
that for like helping with the pain and the bleeding early on?
yeah.
Yeah.
So I started on birth control when I was 16 years old, but they didn't want to use birth control so much for helping my bleeding, more of helping my hormones.
Got it.
Um,
Got it. Do you
and
feel like it
then
helped
yes and
a
no.
little? Yeah.
I had really intense cystic acne too,
Mhm.
along with that. So the hormone imbalance and everything, I didn't feel like things were really leveling up, nor did
Yeah.
I think there were other options in terms of birth control that would fit
Sure.
me.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, yeah, because in my mind, I thought, oh, it's just birth control. You kind of just get it and take it.
Yeah. Yeah, I took it too at that age because they said it would help with the pain and the heaviness of my cycle. And it did, but it did
Yeah,
not help with the pain as you just mentioned too. It did not help with your pain. It did
yeah,
help my
yeah,
cycle get a little lighter.
right. Um, from the course of like 2017, 2020, I was also starting to experience more prone of getting UTIs.
Mm.
And I thought that was amazing. I thought I
Mhm.
was doing something that was missing in like my routine that's why I was getting UTIs. I
Right.
didn't realize that sometimes you're a little accessible to getting UTIs often.
Mhm.
Um, that was a very interesting time. So times where I thought like it was like where I felt like it was gonna be another peak rupture ended up being just like pain from a UTI. So that was another factor, and I started taking like your typical like cranberry powder and
Mhm.
all that to like mellow it out. Azo is another good thing to try. Um, so uh,
So right now at this point, you've had these like symptoms, cramps, pain, heavy bleeding, like IBS type symptoms, acid reflux, now UTIs and rupturing cysts. But still at this point, after all of these years, all of these things are happening, endo has still not been mentioned to you.
Nope, never been on the table. Um, it was until, so it's a jump to 2021 September, and I remember specifically it was Labor Day. I was living with a partner at this time, and we decided like, hey, let's make a day out of this. Let's go to the gym and then cook dinner and cuddle and during that time I really was trying my hardest with exercise, but I was like trying to go at my pace because I started feeling achy and I'm like, okay, maybe too much. Let low. It was not until later that night, we were doing as adults do, and I was having painful intercourse during that time, and it was just another episode where a pop happened, and I was like, "Oh no, it's another cyst!" And I ran to the restroom and I fainted. And this partner didn't know what was happening or how to like help me at this
Yeah.
time. Rushed to the hospital. I literally felt like I was dying. It was the tunnel vision. Apparently my eyes were still open and I was blacking out. And it was, I think that was the most scary episode I ever had. They found a complex cyst on my right ovary still. And there was still another cyst found on my left. And yeah, from there I was like, there has to be more to this. Why is it
Right. This
consistent?
keep happening. Right. And I guess I forgot to mention earlier when you were having all that, they said, oh, maybe PCOS. But at
Mhm.
this point too, right, like, I don't know, I'm not a medical professional, but I don't think you get complex cysts. Maybe you do get complex cysts with PCOS, but at that point, like, these are big cysts, I'm guessing
Yeah,
too, size
and,
wise.
and what makes them so complex? So it's like the little vagueness of that, and literally for 6 weeks I wasn't just in manageable pain, I was in severe pain for six
Yeah.
weeks. And from
Yeah.
there, I was bugging my OBGYN of like, there has to be something more to this because I can't walk, I can't function. I'm not the person I am
I
at
was.
all.
And how old are you at this point? Like in your
I was
20s?
I was 26 at
Yeah,
this
like
time.
26, you should be vibrant and able to do all of the things. And yeah, and I do think sometimes they say I do think you can get complex cysts with PCOS now that I think about it, but um it probably was an endometrioma, but I feel like people are like that do the ultrasound sometimes don't even know to look for that.
Yeah, yeah, because every time it came to the ultrasound, both of them just they were saying all the same things. Oh, there's fluid. And I'm like, okay. And they're like, well, that's probably why you're feeling pain. But, you know,
All right, so you go to your OBGYN, you're like we have to figure this out. What happened after that?
so I started more research again and I came to the term endometriosis. And I go back to her and I was like, is this a possibility? I'm seeing what the symptoms are, and it's really correlating to how I'm feeling. And we had more of a conversation. She wanted to do laparoscopic surgery, and I first surgery ever to have. You're nervous to begin with.
Yeah.
Um, what I was realizing, this wasn't going to be anything excisional. This is going to be just more exploratory. And we started looking into that. So let's see, I had that big episode on that Labor Day in September. We scheduled my first surgery October 28th of that year.
Okay.
Um
Right.
the Yeah, the findings that they said that they found was implants of endometriosis on the uterine wall, like that ligament where it's the band connecting to your cervix and your sacrum, and my ovary fossa, basically where my ovary presses, that they found like implant lesions of endometriosis on that, and that my uterus was bulky, and they were mentioning adenomyosis was
Mm-hmm.
found in the inside, because that's where adenomyosis is found. It's more in the inside of the uterus than so much lesions finding being outside of the uterus.
Yes. Yes. So afterwards, at least you come out of surgery and they confirm that you have endo and adeno. And what happens after that?
So a little few months later, she wanted to recommend to me a newer prescription that I realized was still in testing. It's called Oralisa.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, you go through what I would say a chemical menopause,
Mm-hmm.
and you want to pair it with a some sort of birth control.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the part where I was starting to kind of lose trust with this OBGYN. She wanted to do an IUD versus a pill form or any other form.
Mm-hmm.
And I told her my concerns about it, and I was very dismissed with my questions. She said this is the only way, and we should do it. Um, so this was, let's see, I did this around like the winter after the surgery. So I agreed with her that of taking the IUD option. Sharp pain right off the bat. I wasn't getting help of like understand what physical therapy could help me with. That
Yeah.
wasn't even on the table.
Yeah.
So she wanted to do the IUD, and I had really intense pain. They just gave me Tylenol and set me on my way. And I remember it was like snowing around this time, and I decided to take small roads just in case if I needed to pull over and like relax. I was starting to get faint on the wheel.
Oh no.
And I was luckily, what was very good is I took action and I knew where I was, so I immediately pulled over to this one building. I knew exactly where I was. Was calling my dad during this time. I'm like, something isn't right. I feel really faint, and he's like, you need to call 911 right now and get an ambulance to come get you. And yeah, I was on the phone with an ambulance, with 911, asking to get an ambulance, and I fainted and I woke up puking, and it,
Oh my
it was
gosh.
so intense in there. Waking up to them trying to open my door, it was hard.
Oh,
And then
goodness. Thank
my
goodness you knew where you were, at least kind of, and that you weren't on like the highway or something like that.
no, that me picking the smaller roads was like,
Your
thank you, Pastor.
intuition.
That was, yeah,
Your intuition
immediately.
knew. Oh my gosh. Okay, so you wake up to them like trying to open your door.
Yes. Now, this is going to be more of a story that sometimes you're going to come across anything like physicians and any medical attention. People are not always going to be the sympathetic ones to your situation. Um, Paramedics came and picked me up, and I'm trying to describe what was going on, what happened, that I was having episodes, and I was recently diagnosed with endometriosis, and that I just saw my doctor. We were trying this new thing, and that's when the pain started. Unfortunately, the paramedic that was handling me at the time, he gave a chuckle,
Mm-mm.
and he laughed, and he told dispatch I was having an anxiety attack.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I felt so alone in my body, and I couldn't believe what he was doing. I don't think I've ever yelled at a person in my life like I yelled at him. He told me that endometriosis was a fable that women told to be dramatic.
Mm-mm.
It I was bawling during this time. I
I'm so
was
sorry that happened to
absolutely
you. Awful.
bawling. Awful. And shame on him, and to be medical attention for emergencies to do that to somebody.
And you were in such a vulnerable situation. You just needed someone to take care of you in a space where you felt safe when you were in this like
Yeah,
alone on the literally the side of the road.
literally on the side of the road. He saw like what position I was in and still made the remark, and was chuckling his way. And it that I will never forget being
Mm-mm.
treated that way.
I'm so
Um,
sorry that happened to you.
yeah, no, it's fine now, but I use it as definitely a big learning experience of how I communicate to people, and how I make it into a very serious situation of like, no, you can't be passive of this. Like,
I appreciate you sharing that for other people who are listening that may get into a similar situation.
yeah, and I feel like that's one of the main, like, that story is one of the main reasons why I wanted to get up here and talk about it, is because you do come across gaslighting and dismissiveness from the medical field, even
Mhm.
from like, it's one thing from like your support team of family and friends, but if it's like people who are there who are supposed to help you and support you,
Mhm.
it's very isolating and alone of a disease to begin with.
Yeah,
So,
it really is. And I do feel like these things happen too with maybe more of the common like paramedic ER where they just unfortunately have zero education about how serious this disease is. And like you said, you brought this up because now you know how to communicate, and I'm looking forward to hearing the rest of like what you did, but how to communicate with these people. Like we shouldn't have to do this, but sometimes we have to be very serious. And I can't tell you how many times I went to the ER and was like, this is very serious, and no one took me serious. And I would leave there crying, like just bawling my eyes out, and just felt hopeless and didn't know what to do because I felt like no one was listening to me. And I was like, this is real. This is really happening. And no one believes me.
yeah. And I've had, when I was feeling flare-ups of the endo and everything, I was only told by my OBGYN, go to the ER, just go
Right.
get help at the ER. And these people thought I was seeking like pills at this
Hmm.
point, and I would tell them like, no, I want the lowest dose. Of course, I don't want anything to impact me crazily, but this pain won't stop, and it's not letting me eat. It's not letting me function. And I'm gonna faint if I get up.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And I
yeah,
understand that. When you mentioned the tunnel vision, that's happened to me a few times as well too. And it's scary. It's like you're conscious, but you can't see. At least that's how I like felt it. Like I kind of know what's going on, but everything, like I couldn't walk, I couldn't like you can't stand. Like everything is just you're like basically blacked out, but you kind of know what's going on. It's happened to me several times too, and it's
yeah.
terrifying.
You only have a certain amount of time to put in your action before you're gonna go down.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
For sure.
um,
Okay, so oh my goodness, I'm so sorry this happened to you. So you're in the ambulance, what happens?
I'm yelling at this man. He did a very inappropriate thing where he groped his downstairs and said, "Thank God I have this," and it was absolutely. I never I. Mm, if I would had the strength, I swear. But I got back into the emergency room, and I was helped by a lady by a female doctor. They knew offhand that this paramedic was not being helpful at all. And the nurses at the ER were amazing and made sure the female doctor came in to talk to me.
Thank
And
goodness.
she's like, "You have endometriosis. This is painful, but what happened during this?" And I finally felt heard. So I'm very thankful for that doctor who took care of me.
Thank
It
goodness.
really smoothed out from a scene that was traumatizing to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Thank goodness that those people were there and they were so incredible.
yeah,
That's good. Well,
yeah.
that gives me hope then for ER, that
Exactly.
does. Okay, that's
Yeah,
good. That's a very
there are
positive story.
good ones. There
Yeah.
are good doctors and there are good emergency uh paramedics um
Yes.
that do listen and do take care of you, but you know, there are not always good ones, and it's good to make them more of a educational thing of like to learn from them, even
Yeah.
though they are not. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, and I agree. I hope people don't think listening that I say like all paramedics and ER doctors are bad. It's not true. It's just some of them are just used to dealing with like very immediate like broken leg, heart attack, things like that. They're not used to dealing with maybe what we're going through. It doesn't mean that it's okay, but there are some also very incredible, compassionate people, and it sounds like you got the right team when you got there.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Um, let's see. Looking back at my notes here.
Yes, yes.
When I told the ER to get back into contact with my OBGYN about this situation, we decided that, well, I had to call her about it. I was like, I really don't feel comfortable about having this IUD anymore. Like,
Yeah.
it's not comfortable, and it's also during this time it was a type of IUD that had kind of a copper wire that you
Mhm.
can, like, people with contracted muscles from endometriosis, that can get stuck. And there's like some horror stories that I was reading into that, so I didn't feel comfortable at all. I
Yeah.
wanted to look at options of taking a pill form again. And I went out, made an appointment with her, and I discussed about what happened. She did not want to hear it. She did not want to. It was almost like she was trying to clarify that this was not her issue, that it wasn't her doing. And I was like, look, regardless or not, and it shouldn't be a blame game, but I'm uncomfortable, and this sparked and almost put me in very big danger. I could have
Yeah.
crashed into somebody and someone could have lost a life.
Yeah.
Let's look at different options. And what I'm learning was like, she when it came to questions about endo, she didn't really have in-depth questions. It was always a baseline, and it was almost like she was reading a book about it to me. And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, I need a second opinion at this point. I
Yeah, it was
can't go.
very surface level, just like high level, not detailed. So did you end up getting the IUD removed?
I did. And then I found a contraceptive that completely works for me. It eliminates my periods entirely. Life changing. I've been on this for since then. I still take it now. It's been one of the most life changing birth controls I've ever had. Um, so it really leveled up that PCOS feeling. It really leveled up some of my symptoms, but you will still have that baseline of pain and symptoms that you still have to manage.
Yeah.
So I went out, got a second opinion, and met with, there is a complex gynecology in Chicago. So I had to make a little ways away, but it was totally worth it to me with this doctor to get this opinion. And she showed me about pelvic floor physical therapy and the beneficial parts of that it's not just like the pain that's coming from the inside, but you also have to exercise the muscles as well too, of like the outer parts that you can manage. She did look at my notes and she realized, she's like, your doctor only did exploratory surgery. She didn't do anything that was excisional, so we might have to do surgery number 2.
Yeah.
When I met with this doctor, it was the same year, but in June. So my first surgery was in October. I got the second surgery in June.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And learned about pelvic floor therapy. And this doctor sounds like she was probably able to answer like all of your questions and look at your notes and understand what was going on.
Yeah, and what I really appreciated is she was blunt. She was going to be blunt with her answers, and she wasn't going to sugarcoat things to me or keep things vague.
Yeah.
She was very forward of what she knew and how she wanted to help me. So I thank her all the time of like having that second opinion.
Oh, for sure. And how did you find her? Just like through the internet or like how'd you find her?
So I found her at the time when I was with my partner. His mom actually had a friend who was dealing with issues, and she referenced this doctor to me.
Okay.
And she's like, you should really take a look to her. And I'm like, it's worth a shot.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
great. And then at this point too, obviously when you found out you had endo, did you realize like, wow, some of these stomach and gut issues are all related? And at that point, like,
It
wow, all of these things are from this one cause.
yeah, and finding the full circle of things that everything is connected
Mm-hmm.
blew my mind.
That's how I felt.
But
That's how I felt too. I was like, what? Yeah.
I'm like, I just thought I had like a scroll worth of like stuff because my body don't work. But it but it was, it's not the news you want to hear, but it was refreshing to hear that it was
Yeah.
at least all coordinated. And she told me to like reach out to a GI doctor and keep going through pelvic floor physical therapy. And
Mm-hmm.
I learned a lot from that. So I highly recommend for those who um experience consistent pain to at least ask about that with your doctor and see what your options are.
Yeah.
Because it even relieves your IBS. So
It really can help because the muscles, and I have a pelvic floor therapist that's coming on actually before this show, so everyone will hear it, but like the muscles and just how you can get them to relax from the constant pain. They're just everything, the nerves, muscles, everything is so tight and tense. So it helps a lot. And I've done it too. It helps a lot to just get everything to chill out. So,
yeah, yeah,
okay. So
but
you had surgery and you did pelvic floor therapy.
mhm.
And
Um,
no, go ahead.
so that was like, I haven't done pelvic floor physical therapy in a hot minute since then, and I feel like it is totally okay to take breaks and then come back to it. Try to manage it on your own and then come back and see if there's like different techniques you could do, different exercise that you could retouch. And I also love swimming for that factor too, especially if you experience back pain as well too. That's been really relieving because regular physical therapy that you'll do, and not the pelvic floor, but regular physical therapy, it didn't really benefit me. It was way better to just swim. I the newest thing that I'm dealing with currently is leg pain. So leg pain has been a very interesting journey for myself, and currently I do have mobility aids that I have to use sometimes for when I have flare-ups or when my abdomen is hurting. I know my legs are not going to do well either.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of the newer development that I'm still working on right now. Um, so it's with the lovely Midwest weather constantly changing. Your nerves just love it so much.
I'm happy that you
It
brought it's so true. It's crazy the weather, how it can affect your nerves and muscles and tenseness. And yeah, if it's really humid, it can affect it. If it's really dry, it can affect it. It's
yeah,
unpredictable.
and when the weather's unpredictable, your body's unpredictable. I would recommend for those who are experiencing symptoms and are in the workforce and everything, FMLAs and options to get mobility aids have been really helping me because I know for some cases when you're taking time off of work constantly, people, it's harder to keep your job. And I've had the situation where I've lost jobs
Mm-hmm.
because I can be consistent with my body. And people don't understand in terms of employers. They're not going to know the full on baseline of what's going on with you besides the doctor's notes that you're going to give them.
Mm-hmm.
But having at least the protection of your job to get that FMLA, and that's family, it's a family leave act. For those who don't know, it's basically when you are experiencing really bad flare-ups, it's not a paid leave, but it's a leave that you can take so you could relax during that time so you could come back.
Yeah, you can take, at least in the States, for people who are listening in the States, I know other countries have like different versions of this. You can take up to 12 weeks where your job is then guaranteed still, and you can take it in different segments if you need to.
Yeah.
I think that's a wonderful tip that we haven't talked about on the show. I appreciate you bringing that up, as well as like if you need mobility aids, that's okay too. Like get them.
Yeah, and I know for younger, it was a very big transformation for me of just like how people perceive younger people in mobility aids. Because there are days I'm at work and customers can see me walking and then they see me in a walker. And it becomes a conversation on their end that they want to bring up when all I mention is like sometimes my legs work, sometimes they act up, and
Mm-hmm.
I need this in order to be productive and stay at work.
Yeah.
Do not be embarrassed about the idea of a mobility aid. It is there as a tool. It is not there to embarrass you. It is there so you could help manage and not put too much strain on your body.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm
100%.
still trying to work that myself. There are times I feel embarrassed with mine, and I have to just know that I have this as a tool for myself.
I think that's a great way to frame it, right? It's just a tool to help you. And if you need to get something, make it fun. I don't know, put stickers on you, like do what you
Oh
need
yeah,
to do to like make it
there's
make
cool
it fun.
accessories. You could get a cup holder in there. You could do
Yeah.
all sorts of things in there.
Exactly. Like try to make the best of it. And yeah, I've experienced exactly what you're saying, specifically on my right side, where like sometimes my right leg when I'm in a flare up, it does not want to work. It's almost like I have to drag it to get going and to work. And the weather does absolutely affect it, especially like here in the Midwest. If you go from a really, really, really cold day to then like a really warm, humid day and then back to cold, your body just is like, what? And doesn't know how to handle it.
I say the word, and I hope this isn't at all triggering for people, but I tell people, I'm like, my body's a bomb sometimes. It's unpredictable. There are
Mm-hmm.
days where I feel like I could kick and move and swirl around, and then not today, not the next day. The next day I feel twisted and tight and uncomfortable.
It's the hardest thing for that. That is the hardest thing with endometriosis for me, because you could feel great, go to the gym, have the best workout of your life. Some people could run, maybe they run 5 miles, you feel amazing. And then the next day, that night, 2 days later, you could literally be in a completely different situation. And I really struggle with that. I was in a lot of pain. I was just on a work trip. I was telling Ren before the show started, and I was in a lot of pain before going. And I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to go. And when I tell coworkers this and then they see me there and I look fine and I'm moving around fine, it's hard for them to believe me. And
Yes.
it's hard. Like, I try to be very open and explain it, but it's hard sometimes when you look healthy and vibrant at one time and then could even be 5 hours later, you're barely able to move. And that for me is the most challenging part of this disease, is that it's unpredictable. You don't know when it's going to strike. You can kind of predict some things and have your support tools like mobility aids and medications and everything that you need, your heating pad. But for me, I really despise the fact that I don't know what's going to happen next. That gives me like the most anxiety.
And you can't plan it. And there are times where literally last weekend I was planning to go to a concert with a friend, and I was at work and I had to leave early because my legs were starting to act up and I was starting to feel the flare up coming in. So I was like, okay, well, maybe I take the time off this and go relax. The pain was persisting for 2 more days, and I was having neuropathy with it.
Mm-hmm.
Because with this pain, sometimes like I feel like it shocks your nerves as well too. And nerve like looking into nerve help is very beneficial in this because it shocks your entire body. And I had to go to the ER to like maintain like my health with my nerves, and I
Yeah.
had to get something switched out in terms of medication during that
Yeah.
time. So
Yeah. And what I always tell people is it's unpredictable and it causes me anxiety often, but you can't live like that. You have to live the best that you can and just make sure you're always prepared. That's the biggest thing. Like, anytime I go
yes.
somewhere, I have my bag of tricks, right? Like, I try to stick with more natural medication. So like my nausea medication, my pain, like if I need it, ibuprofen, which I try not to take now because I've ingested so much over the course of my life, not knowing how bad it was for my stomach because I had to. It was the only way I could barely function. So like I just have like my kit. And we've talked about this on the show before, but like have all of the things that you may need always with you. When I travel, I bring a travel heating pad, even on the plane, like just in case. Like, I just always have like a kit with me no matter where I am to be prepared if I do happen to get in that situation. And then if you do get in that situation and you are away from home or traveling, just do your best to get to a place where you feel safe and secure and ask for help. Like, that's the biggest thing that's helped me.
Oh yeah, yeah, and it's gonna be interesting to change my coat. My coat has been my utility belt versus my bag, so I have to find a new bag for the summer. To move everything in there. But yeah, my tensing unit, my nerve medication, little cane patches.
Mhm.
Little cane patches are magical, people.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, no, having that is extremely important. So that way, if there's people around you and you're experiencing flare up, you're like, hey, can you get this for my bag? It
Yeah.
helps them too. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, I completely agree.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
So how are you feeling now? I know you mentioned kind of how you're feeling now and what are you doing? Just give us an update current day.
So, I'm still dealing with the leg issues. Inflammation has been very interesting right now. The leg thing started last March, and I'm still trying to get some answers out of that too. With my doctor, trying to find a good like neurologist, or if I have to go for anything for like rheumatoid arthritis, like that kind of doctor.
Mhm.
Um, so I'm currently looking for more help with my nerve pain right now. I have a wonderful OBGYN right now that fully listens to me and has in-depth like knowledge of what my condition is and how it affects me. She What I love about it is that we make it more of a conversation when it comes to care. She doesn't direct me what I should be doing. She's more making a conversation. I'm like, well, there are these options. What makes you feel comfortable about these?
I love that. I love that.
She is wonderful, and I'm so thankful I met with her and found her. It's hard doing the whole like scavenger hunt of finding a doctor that works with you and talks to you.
Yeah.
Um, so it took a while, but um, yeah, right now it's just the nerve pain. I'm really trying to get this on hand. So
Yeah. One thing that has been really great for me, just people have heard me say it before, that's helped with that is acupuncture and sauna. If you can get access to an infrared sauna, I know here, I'm sure around everywhere, like there's places where you can get like a little sauna membership and you can go once a week and just go sit in their sauna. So those have helped me just a little bit for anyone else who might be experiencing that.
see, I
So,
didn't even think about saying sauna, but the pool I go to, I go straight to the sauna after.
yeah. Yeah, just feels so good. Well, Ren, I so appreciate you coming on and being vulnerable with us and sharing your story. Are there any other things that we missed that you want to add, tips, tricks, anything that you want to tell the endo community who's listening?
Yeah, I know a lot of topics in the podcast. You guys have mentioned about using like helpful tools of cannabis. I am a huge advocate of that. I've been working in cannabis for 5 years now and working in medical cannabis. I have all sorts of patients that come through, and I also have a lot of people with endometriosis looking for help. Cannabis is not used as a cure, it is used as a tool, and it's a very helpful tool. I recommend instead of gummies or just smoking where it's easier, finding supplement options like capsules and tinctures. They work a lot better and they build in your system. I'm doing more research about a cannabinoid found in the plant called CBG, and they're looking into doing testing of seeing if CBG helps restore with nerve pains and nerve transmitters. So it targets more nerve damage, and it's been so beneficial to use on my flare-ups. Um, but overall, I don't have any links or plugs, but I am looking to sharing my story so I could build a community, and because this disease leaves you so isolated, so I'm so happy, and I really hope this helps anybody who is struggling because I know I've been there.
I really appreciate that. And yeah, thank you so much for right, you work in cannabis, so that's very helpful to hear and going with more of like the like you said supplement or like pill route or tincture. That's such a great tip to have. Didn't
Yeah,
even think about that. And when I talked about like ibuprofen and pain, like and how harsh that is on your stomach. Like other, these tinctures and things aren't going to be as harsh on your stomach, right?
no, they often tinctures are have binder oil of MCT oil, so it's refined coconut oil. If you're allergic to coconuts, there is hemp oil substitutes that you could try to find.
Mhm.
Um, But having that, what I realized, like when I was doing my dieting, if you uh advance more sugar, sugar could heighten your inflammation, and that's what gummies can do to you, you know?
Ah,
So
that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
even though they last a little bit longer, a gummy might last a little bit longer in your stomach, you could still heighten that inflammation. So that's why I've switched to more of a supplement route. So it's more of a buildable thing. And people are like, well, I don't feel media. I'm like, yeah, it's gonna be like a new med where you have to test it out for like maybe a good 2 weeks to start feeling
Mm-hmm.
effects.
Mm-hmm.
And some things feel a little bit more instant too. So.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great tip that I wouldn't have even thought of. So thank you for bringing that here. And I know I love not cannabis, but my CBD like pain balm stick has been a lifesaver for me. I'm just like putting that
Yes.
thing on all my hip and my back and just it, and you can get that at like the grocery store now. At least here in Michigan you can. Like I'm thinking pretty much anywhere you can. I'm not sure out of the country. I know it's still a little more strict, but certain countries it's a little more open, but the CBD, even if you can't get access, has really helped me too. And every time someone's like, I have a pain here, I'm like running around trying to give them my CBD stick.
And showing it off, say this is the miracle work helping
It's
me.
so true.
And if you can't get into a roll-on of CBD, I highly recommend finding a roll-on of lidocaine. And that's been another thing like I can find at grocery stores, easy
Yeah.
peasy and grab it.
Yeah.
So
It's
yeah,
a great tip.
that's been very beneficial.
Good. Good. Great tip. Oh, Ren, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I had so much fun doing this, and honestly, I'm the work you're doing and helping others to feel heard and to have people listen to other stories, it is really refreshing. You don't feel alone as much, and the community you're building, Melissa, is just amazing. So I thank you again, always.
I really appreciate that. It means so much to me, but honestly, I'm just the host. It's all the brave people who come on and are willing to share with the community is really what the show is all about. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you everyone for listening and supporting the show. So grateful that I have so many amazing guests like Ren come on. If this show resonated with you, please give us a 5-star review, either on Apple or Spotify. You can watch the show on the video on Spotify and YouTube. But overall, you don't have to do ratings or anything, but it does help. But you don't have to do that. Just thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And have a great rest of your day. Hope you're feeling well today.